we had like shelling constantly. You were just getting pounded. Boom, 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 boom. And grads. Rockets. Suicide drones coming through the forest here. Coming at you. I served with a lot of guys who'd been in Iraq and Afghanistan and in other conflicts, and they said, you know, that the war in Ukraine is one of the craziest, most intense conflicts that they've ever seen in their life. It's the closest thing that they can imagine to World War I, World War II.
At the time of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Ozzy was working part-time as a handyman, watching the war unfold from Australia.
It broke my heart. It was like someone was murdering my own family. I decided that it was better for me to go and be there and put myself between them and the innocent people of Ukraine than it was for me to sit here and watch.
Ozzy was inspired by the deeds of his great-grandfather, who served in the British Army.
He fought in multiple campaigns during World War II, and one of the last things he did was he liberated Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. It's one of the most kind and wonderful things that someone could do for humanity is to fight for freedom and to liberate people who are having atrocities committed against them.
By late March of 2022, Ozzy was on the front lines defending Ukraine's capital.
The first time I was there on the front lines, it was like literal terror on earth. It was frightening, genuinely frightening. We just were a ragtag bunch of guys, and we pushed the Russians out of Kiev. We are the people who kicked them back into the Red Forest. It's a miracle, and I am so proud to have been a part of that with those guys.
After that victory, Ozzy was confronted with one of the worst atrocities of the war when Ukrainian forces liberated Bucha.
I was one of the first soldiers that went into Bucha. I remember seeing a guy who the entire top half of his body was missing. I saw at least one person that looked like they'd been raped. You know, just a little girl lying in the middle of the street, kind of looked like she was running away. She was just laying there dead in the street.
How did you feel when you saw that?
Oh, it's horrifying. It's awful. Like that's the most disgusting level of humanity that you could begin to fathom.
Local officials say over 450 bodies were found in the Bucha area. A UN investigation found that many of the victims had their hands tied behind their backs and were shot in the head. What happened here shocked the world. Moscow claimed it was all a fabrication.
We finally got back to our base after the mission, and I turned my phone back on and saw that the Russians were claiming that these poor victims of this atrocity in Bucha and Irpin were paid actors, and it was one of the most gut-wrenching things to know that people were believing these kind of lies.
Откуда ты? Национальность? Блядь, говори быстрее, блядь.
Я из Australia. I'm Australian.
What Ozzy saw in Bucha makes him fear for fellow Australian Oscar Jenkins, who was captured by Russian forces.
Полностью. Полностью. Оскар, дальше, блядь.
Oscar Jenkins.
When I saw that video of Oscar Jenkins, I was really horrified because of the way that the Russians I've seen treat people.
Live in Australia.
I've known them to rape people, to torture people, to beat them, to make forced confessions.
Tell us a few words about your health condition, about your mood.
New video of Oscar Jenkins has emerged purporting to have been filmed on January 17.
My health, I feel a bit weak. I've lost a lot of weight. I have a broken arm still, I think.
The Australian government continues to call on Russia to release him. Ozzy says he and his comrades were warned that they could be tortured or executed if captured, and it was a topic they often discussed.
We knew that it was a very real possibility, and most of us sort of generally agreed that it was better that we not be captured So we were better off committing suicide than being captured.
Had you made plans to do that?
Yes, I used to carry a pistol and a grenade with me everywhere I went.
Sean Matheson has met dozens of Australians like Ozzy fighting in Ukraine. He served in the Australian Army for 13 years and is now a chaplain in Kyiv. Matho, as he's known, has returned to Queensland for surgery and is keen to get back to support Ukraine's soldiers.
They will not quit. They've been fighting for a long time and they've just got a great passion. We love these people and they love us.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old.
Each Anzac Day, Matho holds a ceremony in Kyiv for Australians serving in Ukraine.
Sir Henry Galway.
Anzac Day in Kyiv is special. They have a gunfire brekkie to start, Bundaberg rum and coffee. We run the service. They then have a meal together. I've met 25 to 30, maybe 35 Australians, both at funerals, on the street. These are men of character, men of guts. They're our heroes, but they don't want you to tell them that, but they are our heroes.
It's not illegal to join the International Legion, but the Australian government advises against travelling to Ukraine. No official number of how many Australians have died fighting in Ukraine has been released. Matho believes it's 7 or 8. Ozzy himself has had many close calls.
This photo is the last photo that I took before I got injured, 5 hours before I got blown up.
6 months into his service, Ozzy was wounded during a reconnaissance mission.
We got ambushed in the middle of the field. Artillery shell landed 3 meters away from my head, and a few pieces of shrapnel went into my right leg.
After 2 operations, Ozzy returned to Australia. He later went back to Ukraine to volunteer for 10 months, delivering aid to frontline towns. Now back home, he's already planning another trip.
It's heart-wrenching to be so far away from it, to be honest with you. Every day I wake up and I think I want to be back fighting with them, showing solidarity with them. They do not want to live in tyranny. They do not want to live under the thumb of Vladimir Putin.